but he's seeing me, pictures of me with Karabi backstage at a union show where strippers were there to as part of the promoter to do a special like promotion. And he was like, he tells Don, I don't know if I want to work with that guy.
So why did Bruce Kulick leave Grand Funk Railroad after 23 years? In this exclusive interview, the guitarist shares the fascinating story of how he joined the legendary band and why he ultimately decided to move on. From touring highs to the grueling demands of constant travel, Bruce opens up about his incredible journey with Grand Funk Railroad and reflects on the band's legacy and their ongoing fight for recognition. I'm Paul Stevenson from VRP Rocks, and this is Bruce Kulick.
Well, they did a reunion in '98, which got a lot of attention. And I remember I was excited and I was watching it. And they did a symphony show called Bosnia. It was something that when Bosnia, I don't know, raised money for Bosnia. It was at the Greek Theater. It had a lot of famous guests because Grand Funk's a band that should be much more famous and should be in the Hall of Fame. And somehow and it might have been their Detroit attitude, they didn't care, and the critics always hated them, and yet they sold out Shea Stadium, you know what I mean? But I knew Don previously. I toured with Michael Bolton and we opened up for Bob Seger, and that was one of the tours where Seger was using Don Brewer on drums. And he's a rock legend, great drummer. Eric he goes crazy. We're going to go see them in a few weeks here. He loves them. And I was always cordial with Don. I knew also the woman he married, I remember from the East Coast, was friends with some people that I played with. So we knew how to keep in touch. And then after that, reunion for them didn't last the 22 years or 24 years like Kiss, ended after maybe 2 years. Don and Mel needed to figure out what to do. And I think it took them a little time. And I actually think it was a friend of theirs that worked for a drum company that we know a singer. And it was this guy, Max Carl, who's a tremendous singer and a commanding presence, 6'5", blue-eyed soul, great singer, can play guitar, play piano, do all that. Get him in the band and you got the band. But Max wasn't like, fancy lead guitar player. Okay. So now I'm on the short list and they reach out to me. I remember the first call was to Larry Mazer, who managed Kiss, that I, still kept in touch with. He was the guy that actually told me to hook up with John Corabi and see if you can put a band together because he loved John. And the next thing I know, I said to Larry, what do you think? Should I go audition to be in Grand Funk? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Do it. You know what I mean? So next thing I know, I'm rehearsing up in northern Michigan, checking everybody out. Funny story, Max looked me up, Max being a really talented guy, not a rock and roll guy, even though he sang backgrounds on Motley Crue records and things like that as a session player. But he's seeing me, pictures of me with Karabi backstage at a union show where strippers were there to as part of the promoter to do a special like promotion. And he was like, he tells Don, I don't know if I want to work with that guy. And he told me this later, obviously. I want to meet him before I'm going to make a decision. And then I go to his home and he sees that I'm just like, not that guy he saw in the picture. That's why, and that's why you want to pose, with a, half naked woman. If someone doesn't know you, they might think that that's you 24/7. You don't know. Anyway, bunch of really quality people. We got a keyboard player from North Carolina who I'm still very good friends with, and I keep in touch with all of them. But Tim, tremendous singer, keyboard player. Now we're rehearsing, and all of a sudden we're going out there and gigging. Now these weren't typical tour; these were all those fly dates where you constantly go out. And outside for the downtime during the pandemic, when the whole world shut down, 23 years I did that, flying and performing Grand Funk music. Okay. We eventually got, in the last kind of 8 years or so, a set that really worked, a little bit of all the hits, and then a couple of new things that Max and Don came up with, and something that Max had a hit with. I got to showboat with Star Spangled Banner, which when Don heard at some gig we did at a Memorial Day weekend kind of festival, do you know how to do the Star Spangled Banner? The guy was asking. I'm like, yeah, I used to do that with Kiss. Don didn't know anything about Kiss. I mean, he knew Kiss, but
Yeah.
these guys were not Kiss fans.
Different
It was
worlds.
so ironic.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, yeah, I could do the Star Spangled Banner. You know what I mean? And then that became part of the show. You know what I mean? So, but I was never introduced as former Kiss guitar player. You know what I mean? It was Bruce Kulick. Okay. And I know the last couple of years, once the pandemic happened, I got so creative at home and I loved it. And what was I celebrating? My legacy, my life, my career. And the reaction from the fans was just so amazing.
Yeah.
And then I saw that people really do want to celebrate that. They want to hear more of what I've accomplished and what I want to do and share all this. So the last couple of years past the pandemic got really wearing on me. Not the music, not playing with them. We all got along. It was just like I'm killing myself with the flights and the hotels and the travel every weekend, and I'm not celebrating my legacy. So last October, I told Don, I told him I'd leave at the end of the year. They have a dear friend of mine and Don's, who's now playing guitar with them, Mark Chatfield. Okay. And Chatfield was the guitar player with Bob Seger when I first met Don Brewer. I mean, it's like an interesting symmetry there. And that was like 40 years, that was 83 we did that, so yeah, do the math. It's crazy. So Mark's having a hell of a time. He loved Grand Funk. He learned the way I was doing Grand Funk, but he loves Foreigner. So he was able to make it his own, and that's what he's done now. So they're still out there doing it. They're working really well, and I'm so proud of them. And like I said, it was a time for me to just concentrate on me. And Don got it. I had the worst travels because I'm West Coast, and most of the gigs are Midwest and East Coast. And but I keep in touch. I still dream about gigs with them. It's pretty funny, you know what I mean? But still, that band should be more famous. And but I always did enjoy playing the music.
Yeah.
And I know when I talk with friends of mine, musician friends, and some people are equally impressed or more impressed when I said, "No, I played with Grand Funk Railroad." You know what I mean? Then if I said Kiss. Okay, so I always wish them the best, and I really wish they were inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
They deserve it.